The later droid General Grievous was born under the name Qymaen Jai Sheelal, approximately 60 years before the Battle of Yavin on the planet Kaleesh, a world torn apart by war. For generations, the Kaleesh had been attacked and enslaved by the technologically superior Yamri. In this Hook War, as it was called, the young Sheelal proved to be an excellent fighter and was regarded as a kind of demigod, even at a young age, as he killed more Yamri than anyone before him. Sheelal's closest companion was Ronderu Liege Kumar. The two Kaleesh had a strong bond and fought together in the war until they were separated during a battle, where Kumar was killed and her body thrown into the depths of the Genoa Sea. Sheelal was unable to recover her body and fell into a deep depression. He took 10 wives and fathered 30 children, but nothing could fill the void that Kumar's death had left in him. Sheelal realized that it was his destiny to mourn her as long as he lived, and he shed his old identity. From now on, he would be Grievous, meaning painful. But the Hook War continued, and Grievous managed to completely drive his enemies from his planet. His victory was certain until the Yamri sought help from the Republic, whereupon Jedi Knights were sent to end the conflict, but they sided with the Huk, which meant death for hundreds of thousands of Kaleesh. An opportunity presented itself to Grievous. In exchange for work as an enforcer, the intergalactic banking clan would take over Kaleesh's debts. He agreed, though he hated his old life and didn't just want to work with droids. However, when he learned that the Yamri had desecrated the sacred burial sites of the Kaleesh and the Republic did nothing about it, Grievous broke his contract and returned to Kaleesh for revenge, which did not please the banking clan at all, and led to an order for Grievous's death. 29 years before the Battle of Yavin, Grievous was anointed by a holy man of the Kaleesh to prepare for the new conflict against the Yamri. As he boarded his shuttle, it exploded and the wreckage crashed into the Genoa Sea, the same place where Kumar's body had disappeared. But Grievous's mangled body was pulled from the water, and he was still alive. Grievous had suffered fatal injuries, which were blamed on a Jedi plot, but in reality, after the crash, additional injuries were inflicted on him to destroy his body even more. The banking clan offered to repair his body if Grievous would work for them, and they would take revenge on the Huk and the Republic. Count Dooku used blood from the frozen body of Jedi Master Sifo Dyas to keep Grievous's body alive during his transport to Geonosis, where Geonosian scientists repaired his body. They also altered his brain against his will to remove disturbing memories while simultaneously strengthening his anger and hatred. Although the meaty chlorine-rich blood of Sifo Dyas played a crucial role in keeping him alive during the operation, Grievous saw it as a personal failure that the transfusion didn't also give him some sensitivity to the Force. But the experiment was still a great success. From Qymaen Jai Sheelal emerged General Grievous, both physically and mentally. This new killing machine was presented to Count Dooku as a gift, but Grievous was disgusted by his body and felt Dooku's appointment of him as Supreme Commander of the droid army was an insult. He was first deployed during the Battle of Geonosis at the beginning of the Clone Wars, where he killed his first Jedi directly in the catacombs. Dooku, more than impressed by the cyborg's performance, trained Grievous in the art of lightsaber combat. Grievous's first public deployment against the Republic took place in the Battle of Hyperi, barely 4 months after the beginning of the Clone Wars. He led a massive force of battle droids to attack the Jedi on Hyperi. A Jedi tried to call for reinforcements but was struck down by Grievous during the attempt, as the general was meant to simply overrun the Republic. 6 more Jedi were trapped in the remains of a crashed transport, and Grievous ordered his troops to surround it. One of the Jedi was killed directly by Grievous when he ran into the open, but instead of retreating, the droid general threw himself directly at the 5 remaining Jedi. In the resulting battle, Grievous managed to kill 2 more Jedi in a brutal manner, and only the Jedi Council members Ki-Adi-Mundi and Shaak Ti, along with Aayla Secura, could withstand him. They tried somehow to protect themselves against Grievous's never-ending attacks until a rescue group of ARC troopers arrived to save them. The clones opened fire on Grievous, who dodged every shot and killed several of them, while Mundi and the ARC soldiers evacuated with Secura and T to recover from the previous battle. Grievous took the lightsabers of the fallen Jedi and added them to his collection. He could only watch as the Republic gunship fled from Hyperi. Half a year after the Battle of Geonosis, Grievous led an attack on the planet Nadiem in the Outer Rim. His armies were able to establish themselves on the world before a Republic force under the leadership of Luminara Unduli and Barriss Offee arrived to stop his advance. The droid general sent his army through a strategic canyon to attack the Republic forces, where they were ambushed by clone troops, and Barriss Offee and Unduli's Padawan were lured into a trap. Grievous's forces were annihilated, whereupon he abandoned the battle in his personal starfighter. Not long after, Count Dooku put Grievous to the test by having him face the other Separatist commanders Asajj Ventress and Dirge, both of whom he defeated without problems. Grievous asked Dooku if he should end the lives of both, but the Sith declined and ordered them to be placed in bacta tanks. But Grievous had successfully defeated the Separatists' commanders and thus shown Dooku that he was worthy of occupying the position of Supreme Commander of the droid army. With this new position, Grievous took a very special ship as his new flagship, the Malevolence, which with its devastating ion cannon could destroy an entire Republic fleet in one strike. Grievous's next target was a Republic medical station with thousands of wounded clones. He wanted to hit the Republic where it was most vulnerable. Jedi Anakin Skywalker therefore led a fighter squadron to destroy the Malevolence, but Grievous took Senator Padme Amidala hostage. So Skywalker, together with Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi, penetrated the battleship where Grievous was already waiting for them. A fight broke out during which the Jedi and the Senator escaped before the ship crashed. A year and a half after the Battle of Geonosis, Grievous became part of the mission to bring the planet Kashyyyk to the Separatists' side. Since the negotiations were taking too long for the droids, he launched a surprise attack with his droid army, which backfired brutally. Although he killed the son of the Wookiee leader, this only led to Kashyyyk turning against the Separatists and joining the Republic. In the further course of the war, Grievous targeted the clone facilities on Kamino. He wanted to permanently stop the production of clone troopers. To prevent the Republic from learning of the impending invasion, he sent troops to take over Republic outposts in the sector and suppress warning signals, including on Rishi Moon. But as the Separatist fleet approached the Kamino system, Grievous learned that the droids sent to the moon were no longer responding. To ensure that the base hadn't warned the Jedi of his approaching fleet, Grievous ordered reinforcements to the station. However, a squad of clones repelled the attack and destroyed the base, alerting the Republic to Grievous's presence in the system. When the Republic fleet then arrived over the moon, it opened fire on the Separatists' cruisers, and Grievous had to flee the system with his ships. After this attack, the Galactic Senate issued an arrest warrant for Grievous, dead or alive. During the war, Grievous lived in a castle on the third moon of the planet Vasek, where he stored spare parts as well as trophies of the Jedi he had murdered. However, when he entered his fortress one day, he had to realize that his Magna Guards had been disabled. The general was soon confronted by Jedi Kit Fisto and Nadar Veb with a group of clones, but this ended with Grievous being able to kill Veb and thus expand his lightsaber collection by one piece. Sometime after the destruction of the Rishi Moon outpost, Grievous and Ventress combined their forces to launch another surprise attack on Kamino. Grievous's mission was to destroy as many clones as possible and prevent the production of more, while Ventress wanted to steal Jango Fett's original DNA. As the battle for Kamino intensified, all the clones fought together for their home. This fighting spirit was so strong that Grievous and his army suffered 2 great losses and were beaten back. Later in the war, Dooku managed to manipulate high-ranking Gungans and bring their army under his control. Grievous was tasked with attacking Naboo with the Gungans' support, but Jar Jar Binks and Gungan General Roose Tarpals managed to distract the droid general, and when he chased Jar Jar, he discovered that his droid army had been deactivated and the Gungans had turned against him. Grievous was offered to surrender, but he refused and activated 2 of his lightsabers. When Tarpals attacked, he fatally wounded the old Gungan, but he managed with his last strength to give Grievous a hefty shock, enabling his capture. But this wouldn't last long, as Count Dooku managed in time to capture Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker, whereupon a prisoner exchange was arranged. Shortly thereafter, Grievous launched an attack on the flagship of Jedi Master Adi Gallia. He defeated her in a duel and took her prisoner, but a surprise attack by Jedi Master Plo Koon and his wolf pack freed the Jedi and destroyed Grievous's ship, forcing him to flee again. Grievous then received the order from Count Dooku to exterminate Asajj Ventress, against whom he had turned, Mother Talzin and her Night Sisters on Dathomir. The general brought a separatist fleet to the Grim Planet. After Ventress, the Night Sisters, and an army of undead had disabled the heavy equipment, Grievous left his landing ship and accepted Ventress's challenge to single combat. But Grievous never intended to adhere to the conditions of their duel and ordered his droids to kill Ventress. She was hit in the shoulder and fell to the ground. Grievous raised his weapon for the killing blow when the army of the dead stormed toward the general and forced him to leave Ventress to defend himself against dozens of undead warriors that broke over him like a flood. Grievous was then contacted by Count Dooku to kill Mother Talzin, as he was exposed to her Night Sister magic. But when Grievous had advanced that far, Talzin transformed into a cloud of smoke and disappeared. Nevertheless, the general managed to break Talzin's magic over Dooku and thus saved his life. The battle then developed into a regular massacre and was an almost complete success for the Confederation, because when the smoke cleared, Grievous had wiped out the entire Order of the Night Sisters. Months later, Grievous launched another large-scale separatist campaign whose goal was the complete conquest of the core worlds. Hundreds of planets fell under his rule. Due to these wanton acts of destruction, Grievous soon became a symbol of terror in the eyes of the Republic's citizens, winning one battle after another. In the second year of the Clone Wars, Grievous lured the Republic's forces with the kidnapping of an ambassador to Vancouver. The two Jedi Knights sent to the rescue sacrificed their lives, but the ambassador could be saved. However, the Padawans of the deceased Jedi were furious and assembled a group of more Jedi for revenge on Grievous, which the Jedi High Council did not approve of. During their hunt for the droid general, Grievous killed another Jedi and took several of his younglings aboard as hostages. The Jedi were now even more determined to save these younglings. After they had learned of further help with the support of an Anuba, the Padawans could escape, but Grievous pursued them. He confronted them when at that moment the Jedi also arrived. While the younglings were brought to safety, Grievous dueled with the Jedi and killed them all. A few months later, Grievous led his droid army in the Battle of Boz Pity and faced the Republic forces that had arrived there. The droid general dueled with Jedi Master Soon Bates, whom he surprised by crushing his head with his claws before Bates could even raise his lightsaber. Grievous then took his lightsaber and used it in battle against the clone troopers. At that moment, Jedi Master Mace Windu also appeared and used the Force to strike him. Grievous was knocked unconscious but could later be rescued by his bodyguards, who brought him to his shuttle, with which he fled the planet. After Darth Sidious, who was actually Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, learned that the Jedi were on his trail, he told Grievous that he had a special assignment. He should invade Coruscant and abduct the Chancellor, actually himself. Grievous was meanwhile on Kashyyyk and led the Separatists in the initial phase of the battle there, but then departed for Coruscant. He led the Confederation's Starfleet in a major attack on the Republic's capital, using secret hyperspace routes he got from Sidious. The Jedi under Shaak Ti's command brought Palpatine to a secret bunker, but Grievous and his Magna Guards caught up with them and dueled with Jedi Mace Windu and Kit Fisto. Grievous cut a bloody path through the bunker and thus reached Palpatine. Without problems, he killed 4 of Palpatine's protectors before abducting the Chancellor. Then he dueled with Shaak Ti, but spared her to tell the Jedi that the Chancellor had been kidnapped. During his escape, Mace Windu used the Force to crush the plates covering Grievous's internal organ sac, so that the Durasteel cut through his lungs, which worsened the General's already annoying coughing and wheezing fits even more. Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi set out to rescue Palpatine, and after fighting their way through the Great Space Battle, the Jedi boarded the Invisible Hand, Grievous's flagship, killed Dooku, and escaped with the Supreme Chancellor. However, the Jedi were caught by a ray shield and surrounded by droids who brought them to Grievous. But the Jedi managed to free themselves from the bonds, while R2-D2 caused a distraction. Skywalker and Kenobi then defeated Grievous's Magna Guards, while he himself escaped by shattering the cruiser's front viewport. The Jedi and the Chancellor managed to stay in the ship, but Grievous was sucked into space. He then fled with an escape pod and released all other pods so that the Jedi and Palpatine would be trapped aboard the collapsing ship. But Skywalker used all his skill to bring the half-ship to a safe landing on the planet's surface. Next, Grievous headed to the planet Utapau, where the Separatist Council was hiding, because after Count Dooku's death, Grievous succeeded him as leader of the Confederacy of Independent Systems, and thus became both the political and military leader of the Separatists. On direct orders from Dooku's master, Lord Sidious, Grievous moved the Council to the planet Mustafar, while he remained on Utapau to await the arrival of Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi, of which he had been warned by Sidious. When he received these orders, he protested briefly when he learned that the Clone Wars would soon end, and that the Separatists would most likely lose due to the loss of Count Dooku, even though Sidious assured him that the loss of the former Separatist leader was necessary, because the Sith Lord would soon have a new apprentice, one far younger and more powerful. After the Republic learned that Grievous was hiding on Utapau, Obi-Wan Kenobi was sent to defeat him. Still weakened and injured from the encounter with Mace Windu, Grievous split his arms and attacked the Jedi Master, but he could not penetrate Kenobi's defense of Form 3 lightsaber combat, even when attacking him with 20 strikes per second. His offense became careless, and the Jedi took advantage of this, changing the angle of his parries to cut through Grievous's wrists, causing the cyborg to lose 2 hands. When Commander Cody and the 212th Attack Battalion then arrived and lured the droid army into an ambush, Grievous fled on his wheelbike, pursued by Obi-Wan. After a long chase, the two crashed onto Grievous's landing platform where his starfighter was also docked. In close combat, Grievous used his mechanical body and superior strength, although Kenobi also managed to tear open Grievous's previously damaged chest armor. Annoyed, Grievous pushed Kenobi off the platform, picked up an electrostaff, and charged at Kenobi. But before he could deliver the fatal blow, Kenobi used the Force to summon Grievous's blaster to him. He fired 5 shots through the gap in his chestplate, causing his biological components to burst into flames so that the cyborg burned from the inside out, and Grievous was killed. Shortly after his death, Darth Sidious executed Order 66, and almost all Jedi were eliminated. He then ordered his new apprentice Anakin Skywalker, who now answered to the name Darth Vader, to eliminate the Separatist Council on Mustafar, which marked the end of the Clone Wars. After the proclamation of the Galactic Empire, clone troopers retrieved Grievous's body and brought it to one of Emperor Palpatine's secret warehouses on Utapau. There it gathered dust for years until a Jawa found the general's body and created the highly advanced droid NK Necrosis from it. This droid, however, had only a short life and was soon destroyed by looters who took its weapons and everything they considered valuable. Thus, the cyborg's face mask ended up on the black market, where it was reportedly purchased for its artistic properties by a high-ranking Imperial Admiral, allegedly none other than Grand Admiral Thrawn himself. On his home planet, Grievous was worshipped as a deity, and a temple was even erected in his honor. Even more than 100 years after his death, the droid general was depicted on a painting showing the takeover of the planet Utapau by the Confederacy of Independent Systems. Grievous was a brilliant commander and merciless fighter, and that's how he remains in the galaxy's memory.